Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you for choosing to spend the next 40 minutes with Stratio. I'm Alex Stefanovic, and I will be your host today. And at the end of this webinar, we will have time to answer questions. So please just go ahead, submit them in the Q&A box that you see on the screen. Right. Just like many of you, we at Stratio have been watching the emergence of generative AI and large language models last year with fascination and anticipation. To be honest, not quite believing what we were seeing. Being able to interact with data in natural language has been a dream, which first got us into the data management business and inspired us to create the Data Fabric product. Connecting all data sources together, giving data semantic and business meaning, making it available to internal, external users is really the way that has been our way, Stratio way, for the past 10 years. However, with the emergence of ChatGPT and Llama 2 and other large language models, generative AI has given us further opportunities to democratize data and make it even easier to access. We, as many of you probably, also work with Gartner and with our many clients to understand where their mind is at regarding the generative AI implementation. At the start of this year, Gartner published their Impact Radar for 2024, which you can see on the screen now. And they said that generative AI will reach 16% adoption within the next 12 months. That's globally in all businesses. It's probably one of the fastest adoption rates of all technology ever. However, both Gartner and our clients and us who have been testing generative AI in-house and are trying to adopt it to solving the business challenges are reporting that a number of obstacles exist in the adoption of Gen AI, such as accuracy, lack of explainability, regulatory uncertainty, and cost of customization. Data security is another big one. Well, we are here today and spending the 40 minutes together because you have also tried generative AI and most likely found the same obstacles, especially those around accuracy of the results. In the business world, we really can't rely on answers which are accurate only 10, 15, 17% of the time. We have to get to the right answer. And now is the time to introduce Raman. Raman Martin is the Chief Technology Officer here at Stratio. Good afternoon, Raman. That's your cue, Raman. You say, hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good, thank you. So Raman is equally excited and skeptical about generative AI. So the skepticism really came from the decades of experience solving the data challenges for our clients. And he knows that only data with good quality, security, and business meaning can be used for decision-making. If you don't have these three components, either through data mesh or data fabric architecture, neither generative AI nor anything else will help. And he has found a way to prove this through a benchmarking test that he and several other software vendors ran over the past couple of months. So Raman, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. Well, good morning and good afternoon, and thank you, all of you, for joining this webinar. Today, we are going to talk about several key topics. First, we'll look at the benchmark we have created, and so you know it works in practice. Next, we'll discuss the results we got, and then with real examples for clients who have used and tested the results. Stratio is a company that works on making a data fabric product. For more than 8 years, we have been helping our clients make their data more valuable. We always believe it's important to look at data in a way that's more about meaning and less about technical details. We think the best way to use data in business is to make it easy to understand and intuitive. In this idea, we have been working with large language models, LLMs, for over a year. Our goal is to combine these LLMs with the semantic features of a Stratio product. This way, we mix the power of LLMs with the Stratio business semantic layer. In the last year, we have used real examples with our clients. These examples show how a Stratio business semantic layer makes things more accurate and easier for business users to ask questions in natural language. Because of this, we thought it was important to do a benchmark to really see how the business semantic layer helps to make better queries on a data model. We follow the same methods as a benchmark done by DataWall. As you can see in this paper, and we also use the approach of another benchmark by DBT, as explaining in this publication. We believe keeping the same method helps us see how precise our solutions are. The study used a standard data set. Here you can see the data model that we are using in the benchmark. That is a standard data set at the same that was used in DataWall and DBT. And when we did the benchmark, we used two parts of this data set. The first part, called low schema, has 12 tables, and the second part, high schema, has 16 more tables. In this picture, we illustrate the technical data model, which has been our reference for the benchmark. And the benchmark includes 44 questions in total, and these questions were also used as a guide during the study. Here we can see some of the example of these queries. In this study, we have done 3 different comparisons. The first one looks at how accurate the LLM is when we use it directly with the technical schema, with the technical data model. The second test is in our benchmark checks if the LLM gets more accurate when we use it with a knowledge graph, a semantic schema, instead of just the database's technical schema. And the third test looks at how well the LLM works, not just with the usual technical or semantic model schemas, but with the Stratio's business semantic layer. This layer adds business knowledge to the semantic layer, making it better to answering questions. Next, I will explain what Stratio business semantic layer is all about. After that, we look at what we found out from doing this. With Stratio, we make the business semantic layer in 4 steps. The first step is the automatic discovery of the technical data model on which natural language queries are to be made. The second step is the creation of the semantic layer through an ontology. The third step is mapping this technical schema, the technical data layer, with the semantic layer. And finally, the last step is the association of business knowledge to the semantic layer to create the business semantic layer. Okay, now I'm going to the Stratio product. Here we can see the Stratio governance module. This is a governance suite that we are going to use for the benchmark. First, we discover the technical model automatically with the Stratio product, with the data dictionary or the Stratio governance suite. This means we locate where the data is. In the benchmark, we use a PostgreSQL database to implement the data set. The technical schemas are found using the data dictionary in Stratio governance suite. Here we can see the data dictionary and all the tables from the data set that we are using. Here we can see the tables, also the columns for every table, the data types, and all the metadata related to the technical schemas that we are using for the benchmark. The second step is making a semantic layer. The technical model is good for some uses, but not perfect for large language models, for LLMs, or for business users to understand easily. So we make a model that's easier to understand. We do this by creating an ontology. This lets us make concepts from the technical model. The technical model is about managing and querying data efficiently. The semantic model makes that data and knowledge clearer and more accurate. We have made key concepts for the benchmark questions, mostly from the semantic view. Here, in the governance module of Stratio, in the governance suite, you can manage and modeling the ontology. Now, here we can see the ontology that we have created for this benchmark. And here you can see the concepts that are representing the concepts that are important for this data set and for the benchmark that we are executing. Here we can see the concept of agent, claim, policy, etc., that are the key concepts that we are going to use in the benchmark and in the questions from the users. To make the semantic model, we use an ontology. And it's a good way to make this kind of models. In our ontology, we are creating all the concepts key for the benchmark. The next step is mapping this semantic layer created with the ontology with the technical layer. In our product, we can define data collections. The data collection is the element to manage the mapping between this technical layer and the semantic layer, and help us to change and to transform this technical layer that is not good to integrate with the LLM, to transform in a semantic layer, in a layer ready to interact with the LLM. Here we can see the collection that we have created for this benchmark. We have in the collection the technical layer of the tables that we have created in Postgres and the concepts that we have created with the ontology. But what we are managing in this collection is the mapping, is the relation between the technical layer and the concepts of the semantic layer. For example, there are concepts, for example, claim, where the mapping between the technical layer and the semantic layer is very easy. It's one-to-one mapping. And in this case, the concept is very similar to the technical table. But there are another concepts, for example, agent, that is not a basic mapping. In this case, in the data set, there is a table that is agreement party role that is representing agents and policyholders. But for this kind of data and the questions that the user is going to do, the concept of agent is very important. And because of that, in the semantic layer, we are creating the agent concept, mapping with the table agreement party role. And we are filtering the rows of this table using the column party role code equals to AG to mapping only the rows that are agents in this table. In this table, we have also policyholders. That is mapping with the same table, but with different filter. With this kind of mapping, we are creating in the semantic layers concepts that doesn't exist in the technical layer, and are concepts very important to answer the questions that the business users are going to do, and is defined in the benchmark. We have another kind of mappings, for example, with loss payment concept. The information of loss payment is not only in one table in the technical layer. The information of the loss payment is in the loss payment table and the claim amount table. That is not easy to understand for a business user, or is not easy to understand for a LLM. Because of that, we are creating in the semantic layer the concept loss payment that has all the information about this concept. With these kind of things, we are creating the semantic layer. We are mapping the semantic layer and creating a semantic layer that is more understandable for the LLM. Once we have the semantic layer, we access and use the data through direct queries to this layer. This means we organize the data virtually without needing copies of the data. We use the data from where it originally is through the semantic model. The LLM is going to access to the data using the semantic layer, using the schemas of the ontology, but with a Stratio product, it's not necessary to move the data or to copy the data. Also, the semantic layer is going to manage all the security to the access to the data. That is very, very important feature. Well, we have discovered the technical schemas, the technical layer. We have modeling the semantic layer. Next, we have mapping the semantic layer with the technical layer. Lastly, after defining and modeling the data set semantically, we need to add business information to finish our business semantic layer. This lets us answer business-related questions, like calculating specific ratios or, for example, totals. Adding, with this last step, we are adding business knowledge to the semantic layer. And with that, makes more useful for business situations and business questions. Then, for that, we are using the Stratio product, and we are creating the business knowledge of the business semantic layer. Here we can see with the glossary module of the governance suite, how we are creating this business knowledge. For example, in this, we have business assets, where we are including the business knowledge for every concept. And for example, we have the business asset of policy, when we can see that we are including business knowledge. For example, how the average policy is calculated, or how the loss ratio is calculated, or the total loss. With this kind of assets, we are including a business knowledge to the semantic layer. The next step, and final step, is to link the business knowledge to the semantic layer. Then we are going to the concepts of the semantic layer, the concept policy, and we are going to link this concept to the knowledge, to the business knowledge of the policy concept. With this, we have related the semantic definition of the entity with the business information of the entity, as we can see here. With all of these steps, we have created the business semantic layer. Okay, then now we are going to use this business semantic layer. Now we will see how the Stratio components integrates the business semantic layer with the LLM. We choose the data domain where is the business semantic layer, in this case, the domain of the benchmark. And we are going to execute questions from the benchmark. We're going to start with this one. We use the concept in this question, how many policies does each policyholder have by policyholder ID? We use the concept policyholder, which is not in the technical model, but is in the semantic layer. Although it is not found in the technical model of the dataset with the business semantic layer, the LLM can generate a query that works on the semantic model and semantic concepts. These concepts don't know exist in a technical layer, which makes it easier and more accurate for the LLM to respond to complex questions that will be difficult to address using only the technical model. For this question, the LLM is using the semantic layer, is using the semantic model, is using a concept that doesn't exist in the technical layer. And this is doing easier for the LLM to answer this question. I'm going to execute another question of the benchmark. What is the average time to settle a claim by policy number? In this case, when a claim is not closed, the closed column is linked to a business definition. We are going to the governance suite. We go to the semantic layer, and we go to the concept of claim. Here we have a column that is claim close date. And this column is related to a business asset with the definition of the column. And here we can see that if the claim has not been closed, this field is null. This kind of information, the business information, is necessary to answer the question properly. Or, for example, the business information of business knowledge of time of settle a claim is the difference between claim close date and claim open date are knowledge information that is necessary to answer this question. All this knowledge information, business information, the LLM is using to be able to answer the question. It's using how it's calculated the time to settle a claim, and also is using when a claim is closed. Without this information, it's impossible to answer this question. Then, because we are giving the business information to the semantic layer, the LLM is able to answer this question. And finally, I'm going to execute another question. What is the loss ratio, number of claims, and total loss by policy number and premium? How to calculate? Here we can see several important things. First, it will be impossible to answer this question without including the necessary knowledge to calculate ratios and totals in the business semantic layer. These concepts, as we have already seen, are defined in the business definition of the term business asset of policy, and also in the definition of the concept of loss ratio. In the policy business asset, we are defining, in the policy business asset, we are defining concepts as loss ratio or total loss. And also in the premium business asset, we are defining how in the data set, we know that in the data set, a policy is premium or not. Without this information, it's impossible to answer this question. And in this case, what is doing the Stratio GenAI model is getting from the business semantic layer all the business information to give all this information to the LLM as context and doing possible to the LLM to answer this question. And we are going to is calculating now the answer. The key here, the key concepts are: we have created, we have the technical schemas, we have created the semantic layer with a representation of the most important concepts of the data of the data set. We have created the business assets with the business information about every concept of the business of the semantic layer. And we are giving all this information to the LLM to be able to answer the question of the benchmark. Here we can see the answer to this question and how the LLM is using the concepts of the business asset, for example, total loss, or for example, the concept, the is premium equals to yes, or loss ratio, are concepts that we have included in the business assets of the business knowledge. Well, now we will see how the business semantic layer improves the accuracy of the LLM in the answering benchmark questions. Let's remember that we have conducted 2 runs of the benchmark in 3 different scenarios, using the technical layer, the semantic layer, and the business semantic layer, which is a semantic layer with business knowledge. We have run tests in a simple schema, low schema, with 12 tables, and we have used a high schema with 28 tables. When we integrate the LLM with the semantic layer, when we are executing the benchmark, the test with the technical schemas, we can see that the accuracy with the low schema is 31% of accuracy. And with the high schema is 0%. It's not answering any question in this case, working with the high schema. When we are working with the semantic layer, with the knowledge graph, without the business knowledge, the accuracy in the low schema is 69%. and the accuracy in the high schema is 37%. But the most interesting part is when we give the LLM the full context of the business semantic layer. Here, the LLM gets much better at responding, reaching high accuracy in both simple and complex schemas. This shows that we thought and what we had seen in real situations. When you combine the LLM with the business semantic layer, instead of the technical model, it becomes a lot more accurate and effective. In this case, with the semantic layer, the accuracy is improving 37%. If you use the business semantic layer of Stratio, the accuracy is improving 81%, achieving accuracy of 99%, 98%. That is a very high accuracy in this benchmark. Here we present the results of benchmark for 11 specific questions, which have been the correct and incorrect answers when the system is integrated directly with the technical layer. We can see that there are several questions where the model has never been able to answer correctly, in red. When we are using the semantic layer, we observe that this situation improved. Some of the questions now are answering properly, but not all the questions are properly answered. If we analyze the results using the business semantic layer, we can see that the model is answering all the questions correctly. Only in the last case, there is a small percentage of different and incorrect answers, but the accuracy comes very close to 100%. This demonstrates how integration with the business semantic layer increase the effectiveness of the model, achieving very, very high accuracy. Finally, we wish to share that the results we have observed in the benchmark execution are confirmed in real use cases. Use cases for the automatic generation of insights, KPIs, and business reports based on natural language questions from business users. For example, in this use case, for the media sector, we have achieved 97% of the 70 queries provided for the client. I repeat that this is a real use case. The accuracy is very, very similar to the accuracy that we have achieved in the benchmark that we have executed. In this second use case, that is in the manufacturing sector, we have achieved 100% of accuracy of the client provide question of the client provide questions. Then this real use case is very, very similar to the accuracy of the benchmark. And in this other use case, in the banking sector, we have achieved 86% of accuracy. In this case, the accuracy below 90% was due to the lack of knowledge provided to the system in the business semantic layer to answer some of the questions. In summary, from our point of view, the execution of this benchmark and the execution of the real use cases that we have already undertaken confirm two things. The drastic improvement provided by a business semantic layer in the integration of a LLM in the case of question answering for a data model. And second, the levels of accuracy obtained allow us to conclude that the capabilities achieved address the business needs to be able to respond to real-time questions from business users about the information in the company's information systems. Well, thank you very much for your attention. We are able to answer any question you may have.
Thank you, Roman. I've listened to this several times now, and I am still fascinated every time with the clever way this works. We did have some questions. I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to answer them. We only have a couple of minutes left, but let's try to get through some of them, okay? Right, so the first one actually was around the fact that 99% accuracy was achieved in the test, but is it possible in the real world too? And I think you've answered that through some of the examples of the actual customer use cases, but I don't know if you wanted to elaborate any more on that.
As I said, in most real cases where we use this solution, we are getting more than 95% of accuracy. A real world use case is always more open than a benchmark, as we face a broader context of ambiguous questions from real users. For this reason, we believe that the results that we have obtained in the real implementation confirm the benchmark results. That integration of a business semantic layer with LLMs allows real-time availability of any information from company information systems to business users. Additionally, this can be achieved with greater precision than a human team and with much lower costs, both financial and in terms of development time. I think this is our opinion.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible. Great. Okay, so next question is around, well, I think it's a great question, whether what we've shown today and getting and being able to interact with data in natural language is something that's kind of available out of the box and available now, or whether it's a lengthy journey and, you know, requires a lot of effort to be put into it.
The capabilities explained in this webinar are already available in Stratio Generative AI Data Fabric product. As we can work on the data in its original data store, we can implement the capabilities that we have seen in this webinar in weeks in any client, without needing to move or copy any data. However, it's clear that generative AI technology is young and has a long way to go in terms of evolution and improvement. For this reason, we are very excited thinking that if we are already able to obtain these capabilities explained in this webinar, we think that will be possible in the future are hard to imagine, representing, in our view, an absolute turning point in data management and value extraction. We believe that in the future, the capabilities that we will be able to offer with the Stratio Generative AI Data Fabric will radically change the way company data is managed. We are convinced that the path to this will always be through the use of a business semantic layer as a mechanism for integrate company data with generative AI.
Yeah, exactly. And I think not just we see it this way, but Gartner does as well, doesn't they? Don't they as well? With Data Fabric and Semantic Business Data Layer. Okay, so I'm still going to try to reformulate the next question because it's quite lengthy, but essentially, I believe that we talked about obviously semantic data layer, we talked about knowledge graphs, there's virtualization, there's connecting all the data sources together. And the question really is whether you kind of have to do all of this with a vendor like Stratio or parts of this can work alongside other data management tools. So essentially, do you have to like lift and shift everything that you have and replace it completely, or you can still get the value from generative AI and semantic data layer with the kind of tools that you have, plus what we were discussing here at Stratio?
The key element to achieve the accuracy is the business semantic layer. Then, without the business semantic layer, reaching the precision levels that we have, we can see in this benchmark, is not possible. This precision level differentiates us from any other product on the market. For this reason, the components that are necessary for a Stratio Generative AI Data Fabric are those crucial for creating this business semantic layer. These components include the Stratio Governance Suite that is the suite that we are using to create the business semantic layer, the discovery of the technical schemas, the creation of the semantic layer, the mapping of the semantic layer with the technical schemas, the creation of the business knowledge, and also, additionally, the business semantic layer is used and exploited by the Stratio virtualizer, the only virtualizer on the market capable of working with a business semantic layer for integration with an LLM. The rest of the components of the Stratio Generative AI Data Fabric are not necessary. And in many of the use cases that we are implementing, we are integrating with other data products, business intelligence solutions, regulatory solutions, advanced analytics tools, etc. But the key part is that we are connecting with the current client's data stores, like Oracle, Postgres, S3, Azure Data Lake, SAP, etc., without needing to move any data to Stratio. With the Stratio virtualizer, the data is used from its original place in the client's current data store. Then you don't need to move the data, and also it's very fast to be able to get value and to use the generative AI capabilities for Stratio Data Fabric, Stratio Generative Data Fabric, because we don't need to move the data to Stratio. We only need the Stratio Governance Suite and the Stratio Virtualizer module that are the key to be able to do what we are sharing in this webinar.
Great, thank you. And I think, okay, just one more, and I think we'll need to let everybody go. As you were showing the interface actually to Stratio Gen AI, kind of chat screen, we were getting some questions whether this is basically a co-pilot, or or is it different? And I just wanted you to address that before we finish.
Well, Copilot is an extraordinary tool, but it does not specialize in enterprise integration with company data. It's not oriented to create a business semantic layer. It's not oriented to that. And this is the key difference to be able to achieve the accuracy that we have shared in this webinar. In the context of enterprise data management, there are many security, there are many requirements, security, data governance, data regulation requirements that need to be met. And it is essential in the same way that it's essential to use the business semantic layer. That is our conviction and the heart of this webinar. Therefore, what we share with Copilot that is both technologies used in generative AI, but the difference lies in the area of use of generative AI. We specialize in the use of generative AI for the management and direct data retrieval by any company user, primarily supported by the business semantic layer, elements that are not shared by Copilot. That both of the solutions are using generative AI, but our focus is to create the business semantic layer that is the key component with the security, with the governability, etc., to be able to answer with this accuracy. That's what is needing the client, this kind of accuracy.
Clear. Roman, thank you for your time. Everybody who was joining us for the past 45 minutes, thank you for being here. Apologies for the some technical issues we had in the beginning of the webinar. And of course, as always, contact us if you have any more questions, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Have a good day, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. See you soon.